Welcome to the parking lot, the birthplace of millions of YouTube fishing videos. But this is not a parking lot in front of a Bass Pro Shops or a Walmart. And I'm not going to go inside and buy lures and bore you with some kind of redundant video like that. The typical cookie cutter YouTube fishing video. I'm going inside to buy batteries for this. This is a Tracker Pro 160, which is manufactured by Tracker Marine in Springfield, Missouri. It's sold exclusively by Bass Pro Shops. It's billed as an entry-level bass boat, although it didn't take me long after I purchased it to realize it was not an entry-level bass boat. There are a lot of things about this boat that are good. It's a good foundation, but at the end of the day, it was lacking a lot. So let me give it a little tour and I'll show you some of the standard features of the Tracker Pro 160 and some of the upgrades that I felt were necessary to make this what people call the Jon Boat On Steroids. 16.5 foot full aluminum hull. It's a little bit narrow, at only 70 inches wide. A bit narrow, but it's not supposed to be a big boat. It's supposed to be a small boat, perfect for river fishing, canals, small ponds, lakes, inland saltwater fishing, things like that. One thing Tracker Marine does boost about on this boat is it has the what they call Pro V hull. Now the Pro V hull is supposed to really be a good hull for more narrow, smaller boats. It gives more stability. Choppy water, boat wakes, things like that, kind of helps stabilize the boat. So the hull foundation, a good start. My biggest gripe about it, it's unpainted. Now the newer Tracker Pro 160s, I think 2018 and newer, are coming with painted hulls. I think they come in red and gray, which is great. The problem with an unpainted hull is you get a lot of staining really easy on the waterline, and it just does not look that clean, and it doesn't clean very well. So to me, that's a big thumbs down. A nice small compact hull, injected flotation, very safe, but then it just really doesn't look all that good. I will say one thing, and you guys with the bigger boats are probably going to laugh at me about this. Starting up front here, Tracker Marine did a good job with the bow trolling motor. Minn Kota Edge, 45-pound thrust, pedal drive or pedal operated, 5-speed. It may seem small, but this is a solid trolling motor for this boat. The size of this hull, the weight of it, you put this thing in the 5th speed and hit that pedal and it'll almost throw you off the boat. A lot of torque. It's a good trolling motor. I think, of everything that they included with this boat standard, the trolling motor fit the boat really well. One thing they did not do that I found essential to upgrade was they left that big pedal sitting out there on that small deck. It needed to be recessed, and this boat did not come with a recessed pedal. Now, recessed pedals are standard in bass boats nowadays. So that was one disappointing thing. So I ordered a recess kit online. I think this cost maybe about 20 bucks. It came with the tray, the template, the screws, everything you need, and just install the recess kit. So basically now I've got the bass boat feature, a recessed pedal. Makes it more comfortable up there when you're standing and operating the pedal. And of course it really makes the deck space a little bit more usable. They didn't really put a whole lot into electronics. The only electronics that came with this boat was this little Lowrance Elite 3X. This was mounted actually on the console. If you're going to be in a small river, a small pond, a small lake, it's probably okay. It reads the water temperature, it reads the depth. you know, it's got some color. It's a ping sonar. I mean, it's basic. It's basic. But to be the sole electronic fish finder type device on this boat, it was very lacking. So what I did, since there was nothing up front to begin with, and we all like electronics up front while we're fishing because that's where we fish, not from the console, I moved it up front and replaced it with something a little bit better back on the console, which I'll show you in a second. You've got small enough hands, you can get down in there in the aluminum frame of this boat and dig out a positive and a negative wire to build yourself some electronics up in the front. Something Tracker Marine probably should have done, not necessarily put electronics on the bow of a $12,000 boat, but at least put an electrical outlet up here where if you wanted additional electronics, it was a matter of plug and play and not having to dig through the hull to get the wiring out. I will say the seating on this boat, and I'll show you the rear seat for example, the seating on this boat is very, very nice, very comfortable seating, but extremely bulky. It's not something you want up on a deck that's hardly 70 inches wide. You know, you end up falling off the boat just trying to get around the seating. So one of the things I did was got the Pro seat and a adjustable pedestal, so I can set that at any height that I want. You know, it doesn't take up very much space at all. It's really easy to walk around when you're fishing up here on this narrow deck. And obviously, if I ever want to get one of the actual original seats to sit down and fish, you know, I can actually just lower this to the right level, pop the seat on, and I'm good to go. But you know, a lot of guys prefer to remove the seat on the bow of the boat. I do too. I like to stand and fish, but this thing comes in handy when you get in a lot of boat wakes. If you're on one of those over-recreated lakes, like the lakes where I came from were, and you're fighting a lot of boat wakes and you know, jet ski and water ski wakes all day, you know, it's good to have that to kind of stabilize yourself while you're fishing. My biggest gripe about this boat was deck space and storage space. So let me show you something right here. The actual deck that came on this boat went from right here forward. That's all there was. I had to add this right here. This is about 6 square feet of not only deck, but underneath storage too. I don't know how well you can see that. It's kind of dark out there, but there is a lot of storage down there. It's carpeted. It's pretty well weatherproof. You know, this was something I just could not understand, how they could build a boat with generous rear deck area. Stern deck is huge, but such a small area to fish off in the front, where it's where everybody fishes in the front of the boat. So you're talking about from this area right here to there. That's it. And it's you know, almost too small for just one person to fish on. So I built this on 1-inch thick plywood and aluminum angle bar frame. You know, the idea behind this was to build additional decking, which, as you can see, really gives the boat now a more bass boat type deck. And then, of course, the storage capabilities of it. You know, I maximize storage now because the original storage in this boat on the bow was a little small compartment right up under the original deck, which was accessed through a porthole kind of here in the front of the hull. So to still access that, what I've done is added a little hatch here. And now you can see you've got storage here, the original storage, which is not really that big, accessible by a watertight hatch. And then, of course, the new storage is accessible through right here. So another one of those essential things. I just, you know, I don't know, maybe my expectations were too high. You know, you pay $12,000 for a boat, you at least want some space to fish. I mean, everybody fishes in the front of the boat. You know, 70 inches wide. Actually, up here, it's more like about 40 inches wide towards the part where you fish. And then only about 3.5 feet of fishing space. That's just not enough. They did come with hull-mounted rod holders. You know, nobody does that. I mean, everybody lays their rods out on the deck. The only time you use that hull-mounted rod holder is probably when you're traveling. So what I did instead was I got some rod saver straps. These things are really cool too. These are dime a dozen on the internet. You've got one for the rod tips, and then of course one for the back of the rod and your reel. Got those on both sides, so it gives me the capability of storing about a dozen rods out here on the deck, and not having to use the whole rod holder, which to me is kind of inconvenient. I mean, you're up here fishing, you know, you want to be able to reach down and get your rods. You know, it's kind of a pain to have to stow them every time you move. So with the rod saver straps, you know, easy. One more thing about this boat that I think is a plus, comes with a Livewell, aerated Livewell, pretty good size. Never use it though. I don't do live bait fishing. I don't keep the fish I catch. I'm catch and release. So what do I use my Livewell for? It's my refrigerator. Fits a small cooler perfectly, and it keeps everything pretty dry in there. But if you're into live bait fishing, or you know, keeping your fish for whatever reason, it's a good Livewell. Got to give them a thumbs up for this. The original Windshield was about this tall. It towered way above your line of sight, and it was this really curvy, kind of smoky plexiglass that when you're sitting in the driver's seat and you're looking through it, it was frightening. I actually was really uncomfortable going full throttle in this boat with that windshield. When I was at full throttle, a lot of times I was leaning over the side of the boat trying to just, you know, look out into the clear. I mean, it was just terrible windscreen design, big and bulky. They really could have done better. So what I did was I got rid of that thing, and online I purchased just a regular, like a motorcycle fairing windscreen, little smoke-colored plexiglass, and then took my heat gun and custom bent the corners of it to contour the console. Put a Tracker Boats decal on it I got offline, a little pinstriping. It drilled my holes to where it mounts right to the original mounting holes, and you got a really nice windshield. A windshield that kind of deflects the wind from your electronics, but at the same time you don't have to look through it and get a distorted view, and it actually looks a whole lot better. This is actually part of the Archon Ram series here. These things are really good. This one here is metal, and it's actually got a rubber coating. It's just like this one up here that I used to have the tablet mount on. It's these things are really good. They hold a lot of weight. They're very stable. I added some of these on here for cameras, so I can film while I'm fishing, doing videos, of course. This one right here is actually for additional electronics, like another additional tablet or anything like that. Very versatile. So I added some of these, gives me some opportunities to put some additional electronics on here. Now, back to the console. Now, the Lowrance Hook 4X. I got this thing. This is not the top of the line, you know, chirp sonar by any means. It does have a down scanner, which is great. It's got a lot of other bells and whistles that the one that came with the boat doesn't have. But this thing right here I found at Gander Mountain when they were going out of business. Got it for $100. This is a $300 scanner, or down scanner. I got it for $100 from Gander Mountain going out of business. So this was more like what you need for the console of this boat. A little bit more detail, a little bit better fish finder capabilities. So that's what I put on the console here. Now I showed you the RAM mount, and what I've got here for my navigation is just a simple tablet, an old iPad I had. This thing's probably like one of the first generation iPads. If you've got an old tablet laying around, you know, you can get these Navionics apps, weather radar apps, things like that, all over the place through, you know, the App Store, Apple Store, you know, Google Play, whatever it is, and download them onto your tablet, and your tablet becomes a great boat navigation tool. So something I did here, I think it really enhances my ability to be able to, like, you know, plot courses, drop waypoints, look at all kinds of features of lakes and things like that, plus access radar, and of course the compass features. So a little bit, you take the Lowrance Elite 3X that came with the boat up here, swapped it out with the Lowrance Hook 4X, and of course the tablet with its features. A lot better console to work with here now. The console itself, is not too bad. One thing that I will criticize Tracker Marine for is not incorporating a fuel gauge into this boat. Great spot for it right there, anywhere on the console. I do have 2 bilge pumps. Got the aerator, and of course navigation lights, front and rear navigation lights. All the standard stuff there. The fuses for the independent circuits there, and of course the 12 volt accessory here, which powers my my iPad. Additional storage under the passenger seat, and then of course there's a little storage compartment right behind that. But once again, just inadequate storage. All right, so back to the business end of the boat here. So basically, the original configuration, battery configuration, was 2 batteries, a deep cycle for the trolling motor, and of course just a regular starting battery for the starter. Those 2 batteries went right in here. I added an additional battery over here, which is, as you can see, is connected to an outlet which can power a trolling motor, which I actually do have a custom mount that I created to put a Minn Kota 40 back here on the transom, because you can't just mount a trolling motor to the transom like you can a regular Jon boat. There's no place to mount it. So I made a custom mount, which is at home in the garage, but with the Minn Kota 40. And I got a Minn Kota 40 that goes back here. So what I basically have is I have the bow trolling motor, a Minn Kota 45. I have the Minn Kota 40 on the back as a kicker, and I've got the regular power plant here, and each one has a dedicated battery. You've got the battery for the Minn Kota 40, the battery for the 45, and then the starter. Fuel tank, no big deal, 5 gallons. Just like I said, it is what it is. It would have been nice just to have a fuel gauge. So really no complaints about the battery and fuel compartment other than the lack of the fuel gauge. Let's talk about the power plant here. So I will say this. Mercury, the new Mercury engines, this is a 4-stroke electronic fuel injection, and this thing will flat out move. Plenty of power back here, and a lot of it goes to the fact that the boat is light, but this is only a 25 horsepower engine. And it's really kind of hard to believe that it will actually propel this boat at 30 miles an hour in decent conditions. But, tribute to Mercury, Tracker Marine picked a good engine to put on this boat. They probably could have put something else on here, but I think these new Mercuries, they're unbreakable for one thing. They're very low maintenance and a lot of horsepower. Another modification here I think was essential. When you have an aluminum hull boat, you've got these shiny, flat aluminum areas that get extremely hot in the summertime, and they also get slippery when wet. 2 such places back here on the transom. So what I did was I put that anti-skid tape on here. They stay a lot cooler. And of course, you get a little bit better grip when you put your feet back here, when you're anchoring, or when you're back here working in the engine compartment or the battery compartment. These is, something there. It cost me about $5 for the tape. I really think the boat should have come with a little bit more of this on it on some of these areas where you've got a lot of like open aluminum. All right, last feature, last but not least. This is the best part about this whole boat itself. The Redfin shallow water anchor systems. These things are absolutely incredible. They're made out of a 1/4-inch aluminum, very, very light. As you can see, they bolt to the transom, not with a clamp, but direct bolt to the transom. 36-inch sleeves on them. The inserts that I have in these right now are 4-inch inserts with stainless couplers and of course stainless spikes at the bottom. These are 4 foot. I said 4 inch, I meant 4 foot. Then, as you can see down here in the hull, I have the 2 extensions. These are 6 foot extensions. So essentially I can anchor in up to 7 feet of water, no problem at all. I mean, that's just, I don't even carry an anchor on this boat actually. The Redfin anchor system, I mean, you can go out and you can spend $3,000 on power poles. These are the poor man's power poles. You know, you can spend $3,000 on power poles. You can spend $1,100 on an electric spike. All right, the trailer. So the trailer is a nice trailer, but the one thing about this trailer that it was missing was a spare tire. When you've got a single axle trailer and you get a flat, you have to pull over in the side of the road, unhook your boat, take your tire off, throw it in the back of your car, go to town. Then, when you come back to put your repaired tire on your boat, you're going to realize that you were the only one that didn't have a spare boat tire in your car. And your boat's going to be so chopped up, the FBI won't be able to find it. So my advice, I think I paid $12 for this spare tire holder off of Amazon or something. Get one of these, you mount it on. I think I paid $35 for the wheel and tire combo off of the internet. So for not even $50, I've got a spare tire. Don't have to worry about leaving my boat on the side of the road if I ever get a flat. The original transom straps were basically just a webbing, just a piece of webbing with hooks on it. No ratchet mechanism or anything. They were really, really daft. I mean, difficult to use. When you go to break them loose to launch the boat, you know, you'd end up getting your knuckles busted the way these things were. So I went ahead and got boat buckles. These things are awesome. You just simply unhook them, boom, you're ready to go. When you're ready to go trailer again, you simply connect it, ratchet it down a couple times, boom, there you have it. Anything else would be gauche. So that's it. It truly is a Jon Boat on steroids. Some of these modifications that I've done were things that perhaps Tracker Marine should have put standard on this boat. I may have spent $600 on my modifications. Maybe not even that much, I don't know. A lot of this stuff I fabricated myself. These are the kind of things that Tracker Marine could have incorporated into this design and really had what I would consider an entry-level bass boat. All right. So I hope you enjoyed the tour of my bougie boat and see why it gets the nickname the Jon Boat on Steroids.